Senator Dave Rader called for reform. Then Oklahoma's subsidy lobby got hold of the bill. Commerce emails and House floor video reveal how the senator's taxpayer protections disappeared from a bill that still carried his name. The Oklahoma Senate tried to place two modest safeguards on one of the state's oldest business subsidy programs. The House removed both safeguards. Then it expanded the number of industries that could qualify for taxpayer-funded payments. The reversal did not begin during public debate on the House floor. Commerce records show rewriting discussions were already underway before the Senate voted. Oklahoma's Quality Jobs program pays qualifying companies quarterly cash rebates of as much as 5% of new taxable payroll for up to 10 years. These payments are not ordinary appropriations debated in the annual budget. Once a company qualifies and files an approved claim, payments flow through the incentive program. That makes Quality Jobs part of Oklahoma's shadow budget. The Incentive Evaluation Commission recommended keeping Quality Jobs, but strengthening its safeguards. Its 2025 evaluation estimated slightly more than $2 in state tax revenue for every dollar invested. Even with that modeled return, the Commission identified weaknesses in wage standards, claims timing, cost predictability, and the growing list of eligible industries. The Commission recommended requiring subsidized jobs to pay at least the average wage in the county where they were created. Under the existing system, a company can meet a statewide threshold while paying substantially less than the surrounding community's average wage. In 2018, 22 rebate recipients paid less than the applicable county average, and 9 paid at least 20% below it. The second recommendation required companies to file rebate claims within 1 year of the quarter in which the rebate was earned. Delayed claims make state costs harder to forecast and can cause several quarters of payments to appear at once. They also raise a basic question. If a company can wait years to claim the money, how essential was the subsidy to creating those jobs? Rader's bill addressed both concerns for new applications beginning in 2027. It strengthened the wage standard and imposed a meaningful filing deadline across 3 Quality Jobs programs. The Senate committee approved it without opposition. On March 10th, the full Senate passed it 32-15. 24 Republicans and all 8 Senate Democrats voted yes. The public might assume the House began considering changes after Senate passage. The correspondence shows otherwise. On March 5th, 5 days before the Senate vote, Commerce Legislative Liaison Jennifer Gover Littleson met with Representative Daniel Pay. Commerce official John Chapp and lobbyist Kurt Rogau appeared in the related correspondence. This timing is central to the story. Commerce employees were working with House co-sponsor Daniel Pay while Rader's original reform bill was still pending in the Senate. House staff, lobbyist Kurt Rogau, and parties seeking new eligibility for public subsidies also appear in the correspondence. They scheduled meetings, exchanged proposed language, circulated substitutes, and asked one another what they thought. After the March 5th meeting, Littleson emailed Pay that proposed language for Senate Bill 1403 was attached. Pay replied, quote, "Appreciate you all for meeting this morning. We'll get this taken care of," end quote. At that point, the Senate had not yet voted. The records do not show the proposed language being circulated then to the broader House membership. On March 23rd, Commerce sent Rader one provision Pay had agreed to advance. It addressed companies that stayed in the program but did not file regularly. Instead of a firm 1-year deadline, Commerce could dismiss a company after 3 years without annual filings. The word was may, not shall. A defined requirement became discretionary enforcement after a longer delay. The same correspondence revealed an effort to expand eligibility. Kevin Wallace referenced the American Wagyu Association's move to the Oklahoma City stockyards and requested adding the federal classification for business associations. He also sought to reduce the required full-time equivalent jobs for agricultural associations from 15 to 7. He did not answer questions about whom he represented or why 7 was selected. The final House language went further. It added classifications for both business associations and professional organizations. It also added or expanded eligibility involving agribusiness, rail transportation, support activities for rail, inland water transportation, and support activities for water transportation. No records produced so far establish whether lawmakers or Commerce calculated the potential taxpayer cost. The emails show continuing communication among Pei, Commerce employees, and Kurt Rogau. On April 6, Pei sent a proposed committee substitute and asked what they thought. On April 17, he sent a proposed floor substitute to Commerce and Rogau and again requested their views. The available email does not show Senator Rader copied on that message. Oklahoma's official lobbyist registry lists Select Oklahoma as one of Kurt Rogau's registered principals. Select Oklahoma also publicly identified him as its lobbyist in a June 2026 notice. Those facts establish a lobbying relationship. They do not establish which principal he represented in the Senate Bill 1403 discussions, whether he acted for multiple clients, or which changes he recommended. The House did not immediately discard Rader's reforms. The committee substitute expanded industries that might qualify, but retained the county wage provision and one-year claims deadline. The Finance Subcommittee approved that version 6-3. The full Appropriations and Budget Committee approved it 23-2, with support from both parties. When Senate Bill 1403 entered the House Appropriations and Budget process, lawmakers added industries and organizations potentially eligible for taxpayer-funded quality jobs payments. The committee substitute included agribusiness, rail transportation, and inland water transportation, but at this stage, the committee still retained Rader's county wage requirement and one-year claims filing deadline. During the April 14th committee discussion, Pei described the bill as the result of collaboration involving Select Oklahoma, the Department of Commerce, and the Incentive Evaluation Commission. He said Commerce had identified additional industries with the potential to create jobs in Oklahoma. The available committee discussion and legislative summaries did not identify an estimate of the potential cost, a projection of the jobs the expansion might produce, or a public explanation of which businesses requested each new eligibility category. That does not prove the industries lacked economic development potential. It means taxpayers lacked the information needed to weigh that potential against the possible public cost. The Appropriations and Budget Finance Subcommittee approved the committee version 6-3 on April 8. On April 14, the full Appropriations and Budget Committee approved it 23-2, with support from Republicans and Democrats. The committee had voted for an expansion. It had not voted to eliminate Rader's principal wage and filing protections. That distinction is the meat of the story. The committee version expanded the program but preserved Rader's safeguards. The later floor substitute kept the expansion while removing those safeguards. Yet the bill still carried Senator Rader's name. His reforms were gone. On May 4th, Pei offered a floor substitute. The House Journal records his motion to delete the content of the entire measure and insert a floor substitute. Legislative procedure calls that an amendment. In ordinary language, it was a complete rewrite. The 65-page replacement had been filed 6 days earlier, but it was not read aloud on the House floor. Watch Representative Daniel Pei introduce the House floor substitute as language agreed upon by the Department of Commerce and Select Oklahoma. The House then votes on the rewritten legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please recognize Representative Pei to present Senate Bill 1403.
Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 1403 by Pei of the House and Rader of the Senate, an act relating to quality jobs incentives.
Representative Pei, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There is an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will read the amendment.
Mr. Speaker, I move to amend Senate Bill 1403 by deleting the content of the entire measure and by inserting in lieu thereof the following language, amendment submitted by Pei.
Representative Pei, you're recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 1403 is agreed upon language between Select Oklahoma and Department of Commerce to update our quality jobs program. There is one provision related to the wage requirement we're going to work on next session. So that's been taken out of the bill. That's what the amendment does. Move for adoption. You have for questions.
Member yields and requests unanimous consent the amendment be adopted. Without objection, that will be the order. Back on the bill as amended. Representative Payne, you request further explanation of the bill as amended.
Speaker, the amendment is the bill.
Member yields. Seeing no further questions, Representative Payne now moves the Senate Bill 1403 be advanced for general order. Without objection.
Pay described the replacement as language agreed upon by the Department of Commerce and Select Oklahoma. He did not identify Senator Rader as a party to that agreement. Members heard Rader's name as the Senate author, the bill's general subject, and Pay's description of agreed-upon language. They did not hear an explanation that Rader's two central protections were gone. House members had formal access to the replacement and a written summary. But access is not the same as explanation. The floor recording shows no substantive questions or debate before adoption. The summary identified removal of the filing requirement, but did not clearly flag the disappearance of the county wage provision. The fiscal analysis said no impact without estimating future costs from expanded eligibility. Senator Rader told me he did not know about the floor substitute or the removal of his provisions. The available records do not show that he received, reviewed, or approved the later wholesale rewrite. Keeping his name was not necessarily improper under legislative procedure, but it raises a fair question about what House members understood when the rewritten measure was identified with Rader. The final House vote was 51-41. 35 Republicans and 16 Democrats supported the rewritten bill, while 41 Republicans opposed it. Because the measure passed with exactly 51 votes, Democratic support was necessary. That does not prove what individual members knew, but uncertainty does not erase responsibility for the recorded vote. The bill returned to the Senate on May 5th. The House amendments were read, but the Senate took no final action. Neither version became law. Rader's accountability provisions died, and the proposed expansion died with them. The records documenting how the measure changed did not. Select Oklahoma's role presents an unresolved contradiction. Its designated representative on the Incentive Evaluation Commission voted for both safeguards in November 2025. 5 months later, Pay described replacement language without either safeguard as agreed upon by Select Oklahoma and Commerce. The records do not establish whether Select agreed to the deletions or only to other parts of the substitute. Detailed questions went to Pay, Commerce, Kurt Ragau, Kevin Wallace, Select Oklahoma, business organizations, and Democratic House supporters. The central questions remained unanswered. The absence of a response does not establish wrongdoing. It does leave taxpayers without answers to questions raised directly by the documents. Oklahoma's subsidy system does not grow only through public debate over individual credits and rebates. It also grows through legislation assembled over time by agencies, lawmakers, lobbyists, industry associations, and economic development organizations. Each may believe expanded eligibility is reasonable. Taxpayers still deserve to know who requested changes, who might benefit, and what expansion could cost. Our shadow budget analysis estimates that Oklahoma's major incentive and subsidy categories grew from approximately $180 million in the early years to roughly $1.5 billion in the projected fiscal year 2027 total. The next slide shows that estimated growth and its major components. As the chart shows, the estimated annual cost, cap, or set-aside rose from about $180 million to approximately $1.5 billion over the period shown. The major categories include investment and new jobs credits, the reduced New Well gross production tax preference, quality jobs, other credits and incentives, the private school tax credit cap, and the taxpayer endowment trust fund set-aside. These are illustrative estimates assembled from official reports, statutory caps, and designated set-asides. They are not a single audited accounting total. A Republican senator proposed 2 practical safeguards. Taxpayer-subsidized jobs should meet local wage standards, and companies receiving public assistance should file claims on time. His name remained on a rewrite he said he did not know about. The House removed the protections and expanded potential eligibility. The bill died, but the process that produced the rewrite did not. The documents establish the sequence. This article will continue to follow the documents, not leap ahead of them. The available evidence does not prove wrongdoing. It does justify persistent questions about who changed the bill, whose interests were represented, what lawmakers were told, and what taxpayers might have paid. Follow the money at wlangdon.substack.com.